Hey, it's Teapot, and I'm back in Seiya no Uta. And we left off, well, last time we met Seiya. And then we turned into this lecture hall. So, let's see where it goes from here. Yo's determined to talk to him today. Wrong button. What is the move forward button? Down. Okay. Nothing will happen as long as she hesitates. It will only prolong her suffering. The time has come to show courage once again. Yo's fourth period on Thursdays is biology. This is her one chance to see Fuminori. As a required course with many students, the lecture is held in a large hall that can seat well over 200. But since the room is usually only half full, it is rarely difficult for Yo to find seats that she wants. Yo prefers to sit near the center, where it is easiest to hear the professor. Most of the students congregate in this area for the same reason. Fuminori usually sits beside her, although given the ambiguous state of their relationship, she knows better than to take this for granted. Still, she tries to save a seat whenever possible. The classroom isn't crowded today, so Yo is able to set her bag on the seat next to her without inconveniencing anyone. But when the professor arrives at the usual time to start class, there is still no sign of Fuminori. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Yo scans the room furtively. Fuminori is there, sitting alone in the far back corner. Did he miss Yo when he came in? No, he couldn't have. And besides, no serious student would willingly sit so far away from the front. Feeling miserable, Yo slides her bag back over to herself. Fuminori is out the door the moment the class ends. Yo barely manages to catch up to him before he disappears down the hallway. Fuminori! Fuminori jerks at the sound of his name. You'd think that she just screamed at him. What? He turns and asks her reluctantly. Now that they are face to face, Yo is painfully aware of how much weight Fuminori has lost. His sunken eyes and protruding cheekbones are a far cry from the features familiar to her. She wonders whether he's under a lot of stress, or perhaps not getting enough nutrition. Maybe it's both. He definitely looks more tense than he should, afraid even, though of what she can't imagine. His eyes move restlessly from point to point, and he refuses to look Yo in the eye. It hurts to see Fuminori in this way. What could have changed him so? Today, she reminds herself, rekindling the flame of courage in her heart. I want to talk to you about something. Do you have some time? The courtyard is empty and silent. No one is willing to sit and chat in the cold November air. So, what is it? Don't you remember? Yo almost blurts the question, but manages to keep her composure. You've been acting strange lately. I'm worried about you. Well, a lot's happened. He smiles like it's nothing, but even that seems stiff and forced. He's even standing precisely one pace farther away from her than he used to. Is that really all? What more do you want? Yo manages to keep from flinching at the harshness of his tone. It's like you're struggling with something. Rather than answer, Fuminori grinds his toe into the dead grass at his feet. Fearing that her determination might flag, Yo lets the words come out as they may. It's like there's a terrible weight on your shoulders and it's slowly breaking you. That's how you look to me. Oh, really? Fuminori mutters through his clenched teeth, no longer trying to deny it or change the topic. This is an even clearer signal of rejection than his prior evasiveness. But Yo's determination is strong. Today, at least, she won't back down. It's times like these, she implores, trying to convey the sincerity of her feelings for him, that you need your friends. I feel really bad about your parents, but you're not alone, and you have Koji, and Omi, and you have me. Yo can no longer stop the words pouring from her lips. She fears that if she does not unleash the feelings pent up inside her, they will be lost forever. I think we can help you, so you don't have to deal with it all by yourself. Even if we can't do anything, it's just talking to us that might make you feel better. I want to help you. We all do. So please, tell me. Stop it, Fuminori shouts, silencing Yo's entreaty. She promised herself that she wouldn't back down, but Fuminori's expression is terrible enough to shatter her resolve. The look in his eyes is not anger, or any other warm-blooded emotion. It is hate, murderously cold hate. Come to think of it, I never gave you an answer, did I? He remembers. He remembers, yet he has still treated her so coldly. That is all the answer she needs. If his words stab any deeper, she might very well die. I never saw you in any special way before. When you asked me out, I wasn't sure how to respond. I didn't know how I really felt about you then. Fuminori. But now I can give you an answer. I've had plenty of time to think it over, you know. I hate you, Tsukuba. I don't even want to look at you. Don't cry, Yo tells herself, but it's too late to stop the tears pouring from her eyes. I suppose it's too much to hope I'd never see you again. We do go to the same school. So just make this the last time you speak to me, okay? Your voice makes me sick. How can you be so cruel? Yo whispers in shock and despair. To which Fuminori twists his lips into a malevolent smile. You should really try thinking for yourself once in a while. I bet you were just egged on by Omi and Koji, weren't you? Well, you can play at love all you want, but leave me out of it. That's all Yo can take. Even after shedding tears in front of him, she absolutely refuses to let him hear her cry. Any disgrace would be preferable to breaking down here. So she runs, fleeing breathlessly from the courtyard with Fuminori's cold smile at her back. Okay, dude. I get how you can't really handle the voice because it's just shrieking at this point. And how... I turned off the shrieking, by the way, because that was kind of annoying. And how you can't really look at her, you just see a pound of flesh. But you could have been nicer with that. Omi was the first to catch sight of Yo and Fuminori leaving for the courtyard. Reluctant to interrupt them, but still unwilling to leave them alone, Koji and Omi ended up watching the whole thing from the shadows. That asshole. Through the exchange, Omi was clearly itching to jump out and punch Fuminori in the face. Knowing her temper, Koji kept firm hold of her arm until the end. If he hadn't, she might very well have done it. Fuminori leaves after Yo, his every step seeming to take an act of willpower. Koji sighs heavily into the once more empty courtyard, but the bitter taste in his mouth will not go away. What's wrong with him? Even Koji cannot forgive Fuminori's treatment of Yo. However, the first thing that he feels is confusion, not anger. Koji has known Fuminori since long before college. Fuminori was never this cruel before. There's no question now that the accident changed him. Are you just gonna let this go, Koji? I don't want to, but what can we do? Something's besides watch, Omi shouts, her face red with fury. I won't be satisfied until I give him a piece of my mind. That won't make Tsukuba feel better. It'll make me feel better. Yo and Omi are best friends, just like Koji and Fuminori. In fact, it was the relationship between Koji and Omi that brought the other two together. Omi's anger is only natural. I'm going to talk to him alone. You don't have to come. You serious? Take care of Yo for me, will you? She's probably really hurt. She'll need someone to be nice to her after she's done crying. Wait, shouldn't we switch jobs? You know how I am. I try to come to her, I'll end up making it worse. Yeah, you've got a point. Hey. Anyway, just go easy, okay? Ending the conversation before Omi's good mood gets any worse, Koji heads off to find Yo. Oh. Okay. I feel awful, miserable, but also refreshed. I finally crossed the line. I knew it would come crashing down like this sooner or later. I don't know. Sorry. It just keeps getting louder and louder for me, and I don't know why. Having become unable to feel anything but disgust for other people, there was no way I could hope to maintain the relationships I'd had before the accident. Today's incident will definitely get back to Koji and Omi, and everyone will be convinced that I had a major change of character. Honestly, I don't care anymore. At least I probably won't be committed for this. I just need to avoid acting any stranger than I already have. If this puts a rift between me and the others, good. The thought of all the stress I'll avoid brings a smile to my lips. I'm fed up with them sticking their noses into my life. It's like they don't care that they make my gut turn just by being near me. I've been terrified of them until now, but today I struck fear into one of them. In that sense, it's something of a relief, but I'm not entirely without remorse for what happened. The person I just demolished was with verbal equivalent of a nuclear bomb used to be my friend Yo. Even if my senses don't believe it, my mind accepts the theory. I don't have any particular grudge against Yo herself, but I didn't want to hurt her. And I didn't want to hurt her. In retrospect, perhaps I should have just ignored her outright. Yo was an attractive girl. I certainly didn't think badly of her. To be honest though, I was annoyed when Koji and Omi tried to stick us together. I felt like they were toying with me, and Yo seemed totally oblivious to the fact that she was dancing to their tune. Her cluelessness was irritating. Still, I knew that none of them meant any harm. Back then, I didn't have any reason to hurt others just to get in my way, just to get my way. If having a casual relationship with Yo would keep our circle of friends together, I was willing to make that compromise. Now, however, there is no room in my heart for such a forbearance. If merely talking to someone is an ordeal, then how can I be expected to show them kindness? These ruminations have left me exhausted. I want to return to Say as soon as possible, but thinking about the packed trains and the crowded downtown streets between here and home saps my spirit. Catching sight of a nearby bench, I sit down and close my eyes to the horrors of the world. I can't do anything about the stink or the noise, but at least I can calm my nerves enough to rest. When I regained consciousness in the T University hospital ward, the world was as dark as it is now. I had not yet recovered my sight, even though my eyes and optical nerves were undamaged. It must have been an after effect of the accident. Blindness was a shock, but now I know that my suffering was then nothing. After all, my senses of hearing, touch, taste, and smell were all fine at the time. The real horror began when my sight returned. The one small mercy was that I was able to come to terms with the accident and my neurosurgery while still blind. I panicked when I first saw the nightmares hospital and the blood-curdling shapes of the doctors and nurses, but I soon guessed the cause. It chills me to think of what might have happened if I had recovered my sight along with my consciousness. Suddenly awakening in what can only be described as hell, I would no doubt have lost my mind instantly. Soon my disorder spread to the senses of touch, taste, and smell. As it turns out, sight exerts tremendous influence over the other four senses. The taste of my food, the feel of my bed sheets, the fragrance of my get-well flowers, all became as unbearably foul as my eyes said they should be. Eventually, when the doctor's voices became unrecognizable as human, I decided to kill myself. I didn't believe for a second that I could live in this new world. At least, not until I met Seiya. One night, while thinking of a painless way to die, I found myself succumbing to sleep. Drifting between the nightmares in my dreams and the nightmare of reality, I didn't notice her enter my room. The next thing I knew, there was a face staring down at me from next to my bed. The face was not covered in pus or slime or earthworm-like feelers, It had smooth white cheeks, round eyes, a lovely little nose, all things I had never expected to see again. The face was that of a girl, undeniably human and positively glowing with beauty. I sighed in admiration, savoring the first peace and joy since regaining my sight. She had not expected such a reaction, apparently. "Aren't you afraid of me?" she asked. Looking at the clock, I saw that it was exactly 3 in the morning. No time for a young girl to be alone in the hospital. Perhaps she expected me to mistake her for a ghost. I would not have cared if she had been a ghost. Either way, she was a godsend. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" "I'm Saya. I'm looking for my dad." I'm assuming that she was the daughter of a late-shift doctor or another patient. It was unusual, but not unthinkable for such a girl to be wandering around the hospital. It's no fun when you're scared. It's no fun if you're not scared. "Wait," I cried, desperate to keep her from leaving. It was only after she turned around that I realized I hadn't thought of what to say next. "Well?" Her beautiful eyes drew me in, healing my soul to its core. Through the white haze clouding my mind, I struggled to form a coherent sentence. "I shouldn't do this to a girl, but you're the only one I could ask." No longer concerned with propriety, I let the words come as they willed. "Will you let me hold your hand?" Say looked confused at first, but then she smiled like she just found a new toy. Her smile was brighter than my memories of the sun. "You're strange," she said, holding out her slender white hand. "No one's asked me anything like that before." Ever so carefully, as though catching snowflakes, I placed my palm against hers. I could feel her human warmth and the softness of her delicate fingers. She was there, just beyond the palm of my hand. Thinking back on the joyful tears I shed then, I know that this is the moment I was saved from my fate. This is the first time in weeks that I've touched someone and felt them as human. I can't touch anyone else. I was in an accident, and as a side effect of the surgery, I can't see people as human anymore. How mysterious. "You're interesting," she said, winding her fingers gently around mine. "Can I come back tomorrow night?" "Yes, of course, but isn't it dangerous?" "Don't worry," she replied. "The night belongs to me." And so our rendezvous began. Saya came to my room every night at 3 a.m., skillfully taking advantage of the duty nurse's shift change. I was astonished to learn that she was living inside the hospital. "It's so big that I never run out of places to hide," she said, answering my surprise with a nonchalant smile. She had been living in the suburbs with her father, she told me, until one day he suddenly stopped coming home. After she had tired of waiting for his return, Saya had decided one night to sneak into the hospital where he'd worked. And there she'd lived for over 2 months, searching for his whereabouts all the while. "Don't you have to go to school?" "No, Dad taught me everything I need to know. I'm really smart." She was a strange girl. On the one hand, she looked and talked like an innocent child. On the other, she was remarkably self-reliant and at times exhibited a sharp intelligence and deep knowledge that many may have found unsettling. I didn't care. Saya was the only other human in a world gone mad. Her existence meant far more to me than the standards of society. "Aren't you worried you might get caught?" "Nope, and I don't have to worry about food here, and it's a lot more fun than staying in Dad's house by myself. I looked through the patients list and found ones that have mental problems," Saya continued, grinning mischievously. "Sometimes I sneak into their rooms late at night and scare them. Even if they raise a fuss, no one believes what the mental patients say. That's an awful thing to do. They just brush it off as a bad dream." Her confession reminded me that the hospital was famous for its ghost stories. Who could have imagined that there was actually a real girl ambitiously roaming these hallways? "So that's why you came to my room the first time?" Yeah, sorry. Are you mad? While our pranks were hardly praiseworthy, I couldn't bring myself to scold her for the very thing that had brought us together. You shouldn't do it anymore. Will you come talk to me instead? Yeah, that's more fun for me too. With extreme care, I was able to conceal my sensory disorder. It was glaringly obvious that the doctors had no way to cure me, and the fact that I had undergone a still experimental procedure made me even more cautious. As a medical student, it was easy for me to imagine how the doctors would react if they discovered that I was exhibiting such unusual side effects. I was not about to become a guinea pig, a mere specimen to be examined with clinical detachment. And so I hid my discomfort and loathing behind a mask of normalcy, convincing the doctors that any signs of stress were merely a result of hospitalization. Saya was my support. Looking forward to her nightly visits gave me the strength to endure my daily torture. Hope can make an enormous difference in a patient's progress. With the aid of my secret nurse, I recovered at a pace that left the doctor stunned. On the last night before my release, I summoned my courage and asked her, "Are you going to stay here forever?" Yeah, I couldn't learn anything about my dad, but it's not like I have anywhere else to go. I guess I'll stay as long as I can hide. In other words, she had no reason to stay. Why not stay with me, I asked timidly. The question took all the courage I had. Huh? My family's gone, so I have plenty of room. You won't need to hide, and it's not a bad place to live. You want me to live with you? I was too afraid to ask her what she thought of that, so I hastily offered a deal. In exchange, I'll help you look for your father. I'll find him no matter what. I think that's going to be hard, Say said, looking a little embarrassed. Dad probably did something bad and had to leave the hospital. You can't get the police involved. You'll have to be as discreet as possible. I'll do whatever it takes. Unable to control myself, I finally spoke the truth. I can't be apart from you. At first she looked bewildered, but after a few moments of silence she said, "Give me a little more time." That night she left my room earlier than usual. On the day of my release I managed to smile as I accepted the hideous foul-smelling celebratory bouquet. The flesh beasts calling themselves Koji, Omi, and Yo came to pick me up. Though they had come to see me many times during my stay, it never got easier to see my friends change so horribly. My sudden tears of despair drew suspicion, but I managed to explain them away as tears of joy. While we walked to Koji's car, I looked desperately for Saya amid the grotesque scenery. Even as we drove away, I kept watching the hospital fade into the distance, praying for a last glimmer of hope. But Saya never appeared. After Koji and the others dropped me off, I paused a while to regard my surroundings. I had lived my entire life on this block, in this house. There was no other place that I could call home. But nothing was as I remembered. As I walked up the path to the front door and took in the yard where I spent my childhood, I could feel those memories being defiled by the twisted, festering shapes around me. Inside the house I found nothing familiar, nothing to offer me comfort and warmth. What I had once called home was now a whole other world. "I have no home," I whispered, with a smile of self-pity. There was one last stop to make, one last nail to hammer into my coffin. I stepped into the room that had cradled me from childhood. The walls were papered with human entrails, the bed a tangled mass of warm flesh. But none of that mattered. There, curled up on the bed like an abandoned cat, was Saya. As I stood there in shock, she looked up at me in a tiny, weak voice said, "Can I really stay?" I responded by sweeping her into my arms and embracing her so tightly that she would not escape. Saya did not resist. Oh, so that's what the house looked before. Well, I'm gonna end it here for today. So, thanks for watching. Gotta say, I'm thinking Seiya's not a real thing. Not a real person. But, I mean, I really hope she is. I hope she's a real person. I'm thinking we'll find this out soon. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.